I never thought I'd be the kind of man to snoop through his wife's phone. But that night, something just didn't sit right. Emily came home late from her company's team dinner. She smelled like wine and expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. She kissed me on the cheek, smiled, and went straight to the shower without saying much else. She wasn't acting guilty. Not exactly. But she was different, more distant, and strangely nervous. And it had been going on for weeks. I waited until she fell asleep before I picked up her phone from the nightstand. My hands were shaking. I didn't even know what I was looking for, until I found it. A text thread with a contact named Mr. D. Her boss. David Langston. The latest message, dinner was amazing. Let's not wait until next quarter to do that again, winking face, and her reply, haha, agreed. Next time, you pick the wine, grinning face with sweat, that was enough to make my stomach churn. But the worst part? There were photos too. One of her in a black dress I'd never seen before. Another of them at the restaurant, his hand on her lower back, just a little too familiar. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. My blood was boiling, but my brain needed a plan. Because if her boss thought he could play games with my marriage, he had no idea who he was messing with. The next morning, I acted like nothing had happened. I kissed Emily goodbye, told her to have a great day at work, and even handed her the travel mug of coffee like I always did. She smiled, maybe a little too quickly, and hurried out the door. The second the door closed, I dropped the act. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to outsmart both of them. I took the day off from my own job and spent hours researching David Langston. CEO of her marketing firm, mid-40s, recently divorced, clean public image, but a few rumors on old forums from ex-employees caught my attention: inappropriate behavior, office flirt, women in the office knew to keep their distance. Nothing proven. Nothing concrete. But smoke always leads to fire. That's when I remembered something Emily had mentioned weeks ago in passing. Langston had invited some of the senior staff and their spouses to an exclusive networking gala at a luxury hotel next weekend. I checked her calendar. She hadn't mentioned it since. Sure enough, the event was still scheduled. And I was on the guest list. Perfect. That would be the night I confronted him, but not with anger. Not with fists. No. I'd make him regret ever thinking he could mess with my life. I just had to make sure Emily didn't know what I was planning. Not yet. In the days leading up to the gala, I pretended everything was fine. Emily was back to being affectionate, like she was overcompensating for something. She even asked if I wanted to go suit shopping for the event. I smiled, played the loving husband, and said yes. Inside, I was boiling. But I needed her calm. I needed her to believe I was oblivious. The night of the gala came faster than I expected. Emily wore a stunning emerald dress, the same one she had on in that picture with David. I told her she looked beautiful, and she smiled like she believed I meant it. I kind of did. Even if part of me was disgusted by everything underneath. The venue was pure luxury. Chandeliers, champagne trays, a live jazz trio. The whole room reeked of money and ego. Then I saw him. David Langston. Tall, tanned, dressed in a tailored navy tux. He made his way around the room like he owned it. Technically, he did. He was the face of the company. And when he spotted us, his lips curled into a slow, confident smile. "Emily," he said warmly, taking her hand, "you look breathtaking." Then he turned to me. "And you must be Alex, right?" I gave him a firm handshake, just a little too firm. "That's right," I replied. "The husband." David chuckled like he didn't catch the tone. But he did. I could see the flicker in his eyes. Over the next hour, I watched them carefully. He stayed close. Too close. His compliments were subtle, but deliberate. Emily laughed a little too hard at his jokes. Maybe she didn't see it, or maybe she didn't want to. But I was done being the quiet observer. I had a plan. And it was already in motion. Because what David didn't know, was that I had someone watching him. Someone he knew. While Emily mingled with her coworkers, I slipped away to the back terrace of the hotel where my contact was waiting, Nathan. Nathan used to work at Langston's firm. He was a former sales executive, sharp as hell, and, most importantly, fired a year ago for personality clashes. But I knew the truth. He'd caught Langston hitting on a junior associate and tried to report it. HR swept it under the rug. Nathan was blacklisted. I found him through an anonymous forum post he'd made about Langston months ago, and I reached out, offering to buy him dinner and ask a few questions. He was more than happy to help me now. "You're sure the recording's working?" I asked, glancing over his blazer pocket where a small mic was clipped beneath the fabric. "Crystal clear," Nathan said. "You just give me the nod." I nodded. "Make him comfortable. Get him talking." Nathan walked back in first. I waited 10 minutes before casually rejoining the party. David was already at the bar, laughing with Nathan like they were old college buddies. Perfect. Over the next 30 minutes, I lingered nearby, pretending to sip champagne. Nathan did what he did best, got people talking. About the firm. About office gossip. About the women. About Emily. And then. I heard it. David's voice, low and smug. "She's smart, but let's be honest, Emily's the kind of woman who needs attention. Her husband? Total bore." I just had to test the waters. My blood boiled. But I smiled. Because Nathan leaned in and said, "Oh yeah. And? Did she bite?" David laughed. "Let's just say, we're getting there." Gotcha. Nathan casually excused himself, walked out with a glass in hand, and handed me the tiny USB recorder in the hallway. We had him. But I wasn't finished. Because David thought he was playing a harmless little game. Now, I was going to ruin his career, and make him watch as I did it with a smile on my face. By the time the gala was winding down, I had everything I needed. David was still basking in his own arrogance, laughing with investors and brushing his fingers lightly across Emily's back whenever she passed by. She didn't even seem to notice anymore. Or maybe she had grown used to it. Either way, tonight would be the last time he touched her. As guests started filing out, I pulled Emily aside and whispered, "Let's stay a little longer, just us." She nodded, slightly surprised but clearly happy I was showing interest again. I took her hand and led her out onto the rooftop terrace where it was quiet, private, and overlooked by a camera I'd had Nathan install earlier that afternoon. I took a breath, looked into her eyes, and said, "I know about the messages." She froze. Her eyes darted away. "Alex, it's not, I don't care what it is," I cut in, calm but firm. "What I care about is what comes next." She didn't speak. Her face flushed with a mix of shame and fear. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the small USB. I handed it to her. "Your boss is a predator. And I have him on tape admitting everything." Emily looked down at it like it might explode in her hands. "What? What are you going to do?" "I'm going to give you a choice," I said. "You walk into HR tomorrow with this and report him, or I will. And if you try to protect him, even for a second, I'll burn the whole company down with it." She was silent for a moment. Then a tear rolled down her cheek. "I didn't sleep with him," she said quietly. "I swear to you." I was flattered, confused, but I never crossed that line. I nodded slowly. That line doesn't matter anymore. The truth does. And for once, I could see it in her face. David Langston's game was over. He just didn't know it yet. The next morning, Emily didn't go to work. Instead, she sat across from me at the kitchen table, holding the USB drive like it was radioactive. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes, this time, were focused. "I want to be the one to end this," she said. "Not for us. For me." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. She called HR and requested an urgent meeting. No details over the phone. Just a quiet, firm, "It's about Mr. Langston." By noon, she was inside the corporate tower, sitting across from two HR executives in a frosted glass office. I was parked across the street, watching from the car, heart pounding. 30 minutes passed. Then 45. When she finally came out, she looked pale but steady. She opened the car door and got in slowly. They were shocked. Listened to the whole thing. I even showed them some of the messages, and told them how uncomfortable he made me feel. "And?" I asked. They said they'll initiate an internal investigation immediately. Which is corporate speak for, "This is going to explode." She looked down, then back up at me. "You were right. He's done." But I wasn't satisfied yet. I called Nathan. "You still got contacts in the press?" He laughed. "I've been waiting for this call." Within hours, a neatly edited version of David Langston's confession was in the inbox of two business news bloggers and a mid-size media site known for exposing corporate corruption. No names, no faces, just enough to get attention. By the next morning, it had 40,000 views. And by the end of the week, David Langston was suspended pending investigation. Board members were called in. Sponsors started pulling out of marketing campaigns. And HR. They suddenly welcomed any further anonymous accounts from female staff. One domino had fallen, and now the whole tower was shaking. But I wasn't finished yet. Because I had one more thing to do. I had to face David. One-on-one. Face-to-face. That I didn't wait for a scheduled meeting. I showed up at Langston Company on a rainy Thursday afternoon, just hours after news broke on two major business sites, complete with audio transcripts and hints of multiple victims. Security recognized me from the gala. No one stopped me. David's office was at the top floor, corner glass, still dripping in luxury. I walked past his assistant, who was nervously gathering her things, and pushed the door open without knocking. He was on the phone, red-faced, pacing. When he saw me, he froze mid-sentence. "I'll call you back," he snapped into the receiver, then slammed it down. "You've got some nerve showing up here," he growled. I shut the door behind me. "You should have picked a different woman to play your little games with." David leaned against his desk, trying to maintain composure. But the cracks were showing. His tie was loose. His hands clenched and unclenched. "You think this is all about your wife?" he hissed. "This witch hunt, these lies, this is a career hit job." I walked closer, slow and calm. "Not lies. Your own words. Your own voice. All I did was hit record." "You'll regret this," he spat. "I'll sue you. For defamation, for slander." "You won't," I interrupted. "Because if you do, discovery will drag every skeleton out of your overpriced closet." He stared at me. I stared back. "Don't come near Emily again. Don't speak her name. Don't even breathe in her direction," I said. "Because I promise you, I'm not done." This was me playing nice. David didn't reply. He just sat down slowly behind his desk, defeated, silent. I turned and walked out, leaving the door wide open behind me. Everyone on that floor heard it. And I wanted them to. 3 weeks passed. David Langston was officially terminated by the board for violating company ethics and code of conduct. The press followed it with a quiet fury, no lawsuits, no statements, just silence. Exactly what companies do when they want something buried without a fight. 3 other women came forward anonymously after Emily's report. HR launched a full investigation that reached back years. His empire, crumbled. His name tainted. And Emily? She resigned. Not out of shame, out of power. She took a severance package, handed in her laptop, and walked away with her head high. The firm had offered her a promotion to keep her quiet. She declined. We started therapy together. The sessions weren't easy. There were moments when I wanted to scream, times when she broke down in tears. But beneath the pain, something stronger was rebuilding. She told me the truth about how it all started, how David had been manipulating her, flattering her, pulling strings she didn't even know existed. She admitted her guilt, her fear, her shame. And I listened. Not because I had to forgive her. Because I chose to. The man who tried to take my wife underestimated me. He thought I'd get angry, walk away, fall apart. Instead, I exposed him. I turned his game against him. And I got my wife back, not because she was perfect. But because she fought to make it right. And this time, I knew. We were stronger than we'd ever been. 1 year later, life looked different. Emily had started her own consulting business, small, independent, and entirely on her own terms. No corporate chains. No predatory bosses. Just her talent, her integrity, and the confidence she rebuilt piece by piece. As for me, I got promoted a few months after everything unraveled. Funny how calm focus and quiet revenge fuel ambition. But more than the career success, I had clarity. I wasn't a passive man anymore. I didn't doubt my instincts. I didn't question my worth. We moved into a new place across the city. Clean start. No shadows in the corners. No ghosts in the walls. Some nights, when we sit out on the porch with a bottle of wine and a storm rolling in the distance, Emily leans her head on my shoulder and says, "I still think about that night sometimes, how different it all could have gone." And I just nod. Because yeah, it could have gone differently. But I'm glad it didn't. Not because of revenge. Not because of pride. But because we didn't let a man like David Langston write our ending. We took the pen back. And we wrote something stronger. It was a cool October evening when I saw him again. Not in a boardroom. Not in a suit. Not with that smug, powerful aura he used to carry. I was grabbing coffee near my office when I turned, and there he was, David Langston. Sitting alone outside a rundown cafe, nursing a paper cup like it was the last thing he could afford. His hair was longer, his face unshaven. And for the first time, he looked small. He noticed me. For a second, I thought he might stand up, say something. Maybe try to defend himself. Maybe beg. Maybe threaten. But he didn't. He looked away. That was enough. I walked past him, didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Because I had already taken everything from him that mattered. His pride. His image. His control. Emily never even knew about that final encounter. I didn't tell her. Some victories are quiet. Personal. Later that night, she wrapped her arms around me and whispered, "Do you ever regret how far it all went?" I thought about it. "No," I said simply. Because I didn't break him. He broke himself. I just made sure the truth had a mic. She smiled, sadly, but sincerely. And in that moment, I knew. The chapter was closed. Not with rage. Not with chaos. But with peace. And that, in the end, was the best revenge of all. Months passed, and life settled into something I hadn't felt in a long time, normal. But not the kind of normal that felt dull or repetitive. This was a peaceful, earned normal. The kind that only comes after a storm has passed and the wreckage is cleared. Emily and I had rebuilt our relationship, not on old routines, but on honesty. Real honesty. The kind that stings before it heals. We talked about the silence that had crept into our marriage before David. The things we ignored. The things we should have said. Now, we say them. We laugh more. We touch more. We see each other again. Sometimes, we still get questions from people who heard rumors about what happened at her old job. We never confirm or deny anything. We don't need to. The people who mattered saw the truth. And the people who didn't? They never mattered anyway. David Langston's name occasionally pops up in small LinkedIn circles. No steady job. Consulting gigs. A half-hearted attempt at rebranding. But his reputation always beats him there. Justice doesn't always show up in a courtroom. Sometimes it shows up in silence. In being forgotten. As for us, we moved forward. Not because we pretended it didn't happen, but because we owned it. Every mistake. Every fight. Every hard-earned step forward. And if there's one thing I've learned through it all, it's this: marriage isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other, even when the world, and sometimes even each other, gives you reasons not to. And I'd choose her again. Even knowing how dark things got. Because we came out stronger. Together. About 6 months after it all ended, I wrote a letter. Not for Emily. Not for me. For David. I never mailed it. Never planned to. But I needed to write it, to put the final nail in a coffin he didn't even know still existed. It read, "David, you thought you were untouchable. That power made you bold. That charm made you dangerous. And that arrogance? That's what destroyed you. You didn't just cross a line, you built a bridge over it and invited others to join. You thought you were playing a game. But you never realized, I was watching. And I wasn't just going to stop you. I was going to dismantle you, one truth at a time. You didn't lose to me. You lost to your own reflection. That's what haunts you now. Enjoy your silence. You earned it. A husband you underestimated." After I finished, I folded the page and locked it away in a drawer. Then I took Emily's hand, and we went for a walk. No destination. Just the sound of footsteps and wind and peace between us. There were scars, we'd never pretend there weren't. But scars meant healing. Scars meant survival. We didn't just get through the fire. We walked out of it holding hands. And for the first time in a long time, we were free.